Hi, my name is Rachel Kostrina, and I'm directing My Traitor.
And I'm Ariel Kostrina, and I wrote and composed My Traitor.
And we want to talk a little bit about each of the characters, starting with Elena. Elena is the main character of our show. She is our heroine. We follow her throughout and bookends the entire show. I see her as a strong, independent woman who loves her husband and is very firmly rooted in justice, I think, and has a strong sense of what is right and what is not, and also a really intelligent woman, not just intellectually, but I think emotionally as well, which is like really fun to, I'm really excited to work on Elena, just all those layers and complexity. She mainly focuses on her relationship with her husband, Anton, and also her relationship with Mikhail, whom she knew back in her past.
One of the things I like about Elena is that she's not perfect. She's very much a human, and she has struggles and questions. I think in the end she makes the right choice, but it's kind of a journey for her to get there.
Absolutely. Anton is the head of the USSR branch that is shutting down the monastery. I think there's two sides to Anton. I think one side is that military leader that's really strong, and he's giving the orders, and you listen and you respect him. And just a really strong, bold, big personality.
And laser focused.
Laser focused. I think that's a really good term for that, yeah. And then you have the other side, which is he comes home to his wife. He just becomes this meek, humble person who just wants to love his wife. And he does deeply, and is just willing to get down on his knees, just like, what can I do for you? Because I love you so much. And I really love that back and forth that you have with him when there's scenes where he's the military director and he's given the orders, and then there he is at home just trying to connect with his wife, and those two sides of him. I think looking at character change and growth, I think Anton is the one that changes the most from the beginning of the show to the end.
As the story goes on, I think we, as the audience, learn more about Anton, and it makes his character even more nuanced and complicated. And so, as an actor, I can imagine it will be really cool knowing all of that and then coming into the character and trying to kind of tease that to the audience.
Yeah, because he has some past secrets. Right. Yeah, that isn't obvious at the beginning. So. Directorially, I've sort of broken the show into two groups, and we have what we call them the M&Ms. We have the military and the monastery. We have the military group and the monastery group. So within the military group, we have Anton that heads it up. We have his wife, Elena. And then you have these two characters called Sveta and Sergei, and they are married. And they're Anton's like adopted parents. They're not his real parents, but they raised him. And Elena comes in to take over Sveta's office job. So we have Sveta and Elena's relationship, and Sveta's really interesting. She is a really strong, very direct person, very no-nonsense, and keeps herself very tightly together, I think would be Sveta. And then Sergei, her husband, is like this kind of joking, loosey, like, whatever kind of guy. And so I really love the pair of them together, and they obviously love each other and have found a way to communicate and work well together, even though they have such sort of different personalities.
I find Sveta and Sergei to be very important characters because for me, they were like the humanity of the bad side, where you might think, oh, well, everybody that's a communist is bad. And to me, these are really lovable, real people that truly believe that they are doing the right thing. Yeah. And they're great people. And so, I don't know. That's one of the things I like about them.
You do end loving Sveta and Sergei quite a lot.
Yeah.
Moving on to other military characters. So we have the officers, we have Fedya, Luka, Ivan, and who am I missing? Nikolai. And so Fedya and Nikolai are like Anton's sort of right hand
senior
men.
Officers.
Yeah, they're the senior officers. They've worked with Anton a lot. They're Anton's go-to people, and they're the big dogs. And then we have
Luka's
Luka.
up and coming.
You're right. Luka is not quite with the top two, but he's just right in there in the group. And then we have Ivan, and Ivan is the new recruit. In fact, there's a scene where he's the new recruit, and here's the new guy, and he's starting on his first day. And I picture him as quite young and naive, and just kind of going along with what's happening, and not super sure of himself, but wanting to do a good job and to be a good communist and serve his country well. Yeah.
And he gets in over his head.
Yeah. So in our M&Ms, military and monastery people. So in our monastery group, sort of leading the pack are two characters, Mikhail and Tatyana. Start with Mikhail first. Mikhail is, kind of backstory-wise, he is the father figure of Elena. And so he raised Elena for a certain period of time. Age-wise, I think we could play with it a bit in terms of how like age gap between the two of them. I don't have a problem with them being actually sort of close in age, but Mikhail has a fatherly role, certainly, and was married at the time that he was helping raise Elena. And Mikhail is protecting the monastery, and he is not afraid to get physically involved in that and to physically defend the locals and pilgrims that come to the monastery, and to physically stand against the military. And he gets himself into trouble about that. But I think the word protector really comes up to me when I think Mikhail.
Yes, I agree with that. He wants to protect the people that he loves. And he wants to protect the monastery, which to him signifies more than just a building. It's really it's freedom of religion, and so he's very passionate about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of paired with Mikhail, we have Tatyana, and they have a very close relationship. You really get the sense that they've been friends for a long time, the two of them, and really get along well. And Tatyana is the local bakery owner. There's this whole sort of, I feel like it's a subplot of everyone loving these Russian baked goods, which appear in the show, which is really neat. And Tatyana is a very direct, no nonsense, but also loves to have a good time kind of person. I think when thinking about the characters that really challenge Elena, Tatyana's the first one that comes to mind. And there's a lot of tension between Elena and Tatyana throughout the majority of the show, really. And their relationship kind of morphs and changes. But she's also a protector, and she tries to protect Mikhail, often from himself.
She's also a supporter of the monastery, but she gets really nervous about Mikhail and his
forward tactics in standing against the military.
And at a certain point, she wonders if it's worth it. And they have that kind of crisis. But
Marta, I think, would be the next person. Marta is also in the Mikhail Tatyana sort of groups. They are a bit of a triad. Marta is this super lovable. I just envision Marta as just someone who's full of life and joy, and just, you know, sometimes people come in and all of a sudden it's like the room is just a bit brighter and everyone's just laughing a bit more and smiling a bit more, and I think Marta brings that into the community, and is that presence for everyone. She leads the most fun song the most upbeat song in the whole musical, and plays a really important role as well, in terms of Elena changing.
Yep. She's also Mikhail's cousin.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah, so they're related.
Yeah, her birthday occurs near the beginning of the show, and so they're having a birthday party, and that's kind of the impetus for this super fun Russian song.
The last ones in our monastery group, we have a pilgrim. A pilgrim will also double as ensemble. So in the first group, kind of village scene, if you will, this pilgrim comes in and has this interaction with Mikhail and with Elena, and we really want this person to introduce how important the monastery is, not just to the community, but actually to all of Russia.
Yes.
It's a really big pilgrimage land site that a lot of people come and travel to. And a lot of the historical beliefs and legends and what brings people to the monastery. Yeah. We also have Artem, help me out, Artem, Victoria
Alexei.
and Alexei.
A father kind of elder figure, right?
Yeah, so for example, at Marta's birthday party, they ask if someone would read some scriptures, and so they turn to him, and so he is not a monk or sort of like pastor at all, but just that older sage. There's another scene later on where Mikhail and Tatyana both sort of turn to him for a little perspective and a little advice, and you really get that this is a man that has seen a lot, that has experienced a lot, and that has found, I would say, found peace in his faith throughout all of that, and that comes through really strongly. Victoria and Artem, I think, are just really strong believers in the monastery. I see them as very upright, very rigid. I almost see them as a little crusty. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's another discussion of the kind of stereotypes where these are the good guys, but these are just humans like everyone else, and they are not perfect.
Yeah, and I think it's another thing I really love about this playing these characters is that no one is perfect, and I'm really looking at those moments of when are the communists the good guy, when are the monastery people the good guys, and when are the monastery the bad guys, and when are the military people the bad guys. And that's actually woven into the complexity of being human beings. And that everyone sort of has their moments, I think.
So the ensemble is on the monastery side, correct?
Yes, we are looking to add more villagers, people into group scenes. I don't think we're going to add any other military personnel. Just the 4 will be enough. But other mothers, fathers, daughters, sons in amongst the village, which they'll have quite a lot of songs and things to do.
I'm excited.
Me too. Let's go.